Hello everyone, Dominic here from Esports News UK. Really looking forward to doing the site full time, and as part of that, we're going to hope to do lots more video content. And I'm joined by a special guest today, someone I haven't interviewed in the past and haven't done loads of coverage around. So I thought it'd be a good start to the new year. They're off to a great start this year as well, and it's Bulldog Esports founder Newts. So Newts, how you doing?
Doing good, mate. I'm doing good. Well, I'm doing better than I was last year, anyway.
No problem. And so tell us a bit about yourself, Newts, about Bulldog, who you are, your real name and everything, so people watching who, might not be well want to get to know you. Tell us a bit of background, please.
So, my real name's Tony. Most people don't even probably know that. I've been doing Bulldog now for 7, probably coming up to 8 years. Um, I'm in the army. Been doing that 15 years on the 6th of February.
Wow.
So quite a while. Which is sort of like, it's weird. So a lot of people, I think, who start esports orgs dream of sort of one day going pro with it and that. And I sort of fell into this, and it's always been, it was never my intention to go full time with this, because I actually really, really enjoy my job. So a lot of people get into esports, I think, that own orgs because they have the dream of sort of going pro, being the next Optic or someone like that. And because I actually enjoy my job, that's almost not necessarily been my vision, because I don't want to leave my work. I've got a wife and a kid to look after, and the stability of being in the army, and I'm doing quite well at it. So I'm going along the ranks quite nicely. I'm on a decent wage. We've got a nice house. It just wouldn't work at this time in my life. But that sort of gives me the ability to almost not have to sort of chase the dream and stuff like that, and puts me in a position where I can almost put players first. Not saying others don't, but we are very player focused. The results are nice, but like, I've won events, and the feeling of winning an event is great at the time, but it doesn't last very long. Like after that, you're chasing the next one, and you're always trying to chase that feeling again. So my focus has sort of been trying to help the community grow in a way, and look after my players and try to give them something, and like a focus, and hopefully they can go on to something better. And we've had some really, really, really good players we've been lucky to have, and management in the past, like from our Call of Duty days. Cammy's now playing in the Pro League. Wuskins was only with us for a while, but his first ever event was with us. Keza and that are still doing well bids. Even League of Legends, which some people might more recently know before, Grant was here. Mac was with us. Even in CSGO, we had Thomas, who's at MV, played for us for a little while. So we've had some good names that have come through, and it's always nice to see them like doing well. And I probably take more joy out of that than I do sort of winning events. Not that I had much to do with them getting there, but it's nice still to see people go on and do well. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's something you mentioned to me ahead of this interview, Newts, was that you really want to be supporting talent, UK talent. Obviously, you're a UK org. That seems like it's quite an important thing to you.
Yeah, like, so I've sort of got, I don't know if it's an advantage or not, but I think it gives me a sort of quite balanced view. We've been in a few different esports, and COD was sort of my first love, and still probably is a bit that way, just because I know a lot of people. And when we first went in, it wasn't as developed as it is now. And sort of seeing some of the things that helped it grow and grow as a community, I almost wish that we could sometimes impart on others, like, and move, especially League of Legends, and sort of help it grow a bit, because I think it needs that. But it's really difficult, because it's like a totally different community. Although they're gamers, they're very, very different people, a lot of them. I don't want to generalize, but in general, they're quite different groups. Like if you was at an event, like, I used to play this with people. We'd sit at an event and we'd try to guess what sort of games people play. And it'd be like, right, I reckon he plays this. I reckon that person plays that. And you can pretty normally guess it, because they are very different parts of society. You know what I mean? And like you've got the Gears of War players that a few of them used to go to the gym, enjoy a drink and a bit of a fight. Then you got the Call of Duty players that would be turning up, that they're either wearing Yeezys or North Face, I think of the you, Lewis, and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like,
I see League players as more like traditional geeks.
I was thinking of a nice way of putting that. But like it's very different, and it was something I really struggled with because I'm quite a hands-on owner. So if my team's practicing, and I think it's something from the army, I'll be in there while they're scrimming. Now it isn't because I'm trying to like long screwdriver from the back and tell them what to do because they're all better than me. But it's just I'll normally have a mic muted, and it'll be a case of if you're putting in the time for me, I'll put that time in to show that I appreciate it for you. Which probably is a bit detrimental to the business side of Bulldog because I spend too much time doing that. But it's what I enjoy, and I think it's right. You know what I mean? For me, it's right. It's my right way of doing it. And so I get to talk to the players a lot. And from going through a few years dealing with Call of Duty players that sort of speak a bit like me and talk in the same way, when I first had to deal with League players, it was really stressful because I'd say stuff and they'd take it in the wrong way, or it was just very different. You know what I mean? I wouldn't want to say more sensitive, but maybe they was just more open in telling me they weren't happy with what I was saying or the tone that I was saying it. But it was really, really difficult. I struggled for a long while. I'd have to really stop and think about everything I said, and that isn't normally how I do business. I think I've got it now, and hopefully people that I work with, they understand that, and like there isn't the issues there. But at the start, it was iffy, mate. I'm telling you.
Yeah. No, that's absolutely fine. It's good to have that insight. And just a bit on your background before we jump in more into Bulldog and the League of Legends stuff as well. So I'm just curious, at the army, what do you do? Are you able to say like what your skills are? And also your age as well, because you surprised me. You're older than I thought you were. I thought you were younger than me.
Why you do this to me? So yeah, thanks to my wife who reminded me I'm actually 41. Although I thought I was 40 until she told me. But yeah, so in my job, in the Army Air Corps, and the majority of it's been spent around working with the Apache attack helicopter,
right?
In different things. So I was in a squadron once where I was signals, where we'd done the comms for it. Then I've done the mission planning side of it. Then more recently, I've been where we do the training for the AH pilots, running an ops from there. And now I'm just moving into regimental ops. So I'm the sort of person that the requests come into, I decided we can do it. I deal, because we're a training establishment, I deal with the course allocation and sort of stuff like that. More what I didn't join up to do, but it's the process I'm in my career now. As the higher you get up, obviously, the more you change to a desk and are doing more management sort of stuff. So, and it's all right because although the army, from some people on social media, sort of gets a bit of a bad rap, they do in a way look after you. So I've been on like change management courses, like loads of different management courses throughout my career to try to make me better. Next year or the year after, I'll be doing my degree, and because of the way that they do, so when we do career courses, so when you hit corporal, sergeant, and then warrant officer, so probably 2-3 years, you get points, like educational points towards stuff. So if you wait until you're warrant officer, you normally don't have to do, well, in the Air Corps, you normally have to do only 1 year of a degree to get like a master's or something, like honours, degree.
Yeah.
So I'm probably going to do that, and we get it subsidised as well. So I think it only costs like $2,000, which ain't bad for a degree. And they support me with the study and everything like that. So hopefully by the end of it, with the management experience I've got and the qualifications I've picked up on the way and the skills, I'll be able to do all right when I finally get out in about 7 or 9 years, depends if I extend. But
and you'll still be able to do esports while you're doing that, I guess.
Yeah, 100%. I used to have, so I actually won Bulldog from one point when I was in Afghanistan.
Did you? God.
Yeah.
When was that?
So it was probably my last tour. So I've been there 4 times. And I reckon it was my last tour. So I've been married 10 years. It weren't that one. So it was probably still when it was relatively in its fledgling stage. But I remember messaging back to people and phoning back like once a week. So we'd get like a 30-minute phone card, and I'd ring the wife, and I'd always try to leave like 5 minutes at the end so I could ring Neil, who was back here, and just find out what was happening and like tell him to do stuff and bits and bobs like that.
Wow.
And try to jump on the computer when it was accessible to sort of do it. Like, so that
you could have been working with my cousin. My cousin was out there a few times. I won't say his first name, but another Sacco. Yeah, you know, who knows?
There was a few of us that went like. But yeah, it sort of makes me laugh when people sometimes you see people saying, oh, I ain't got the time to do this and stuff like that. And I think to myself, like some of the places that I've run this from, sometimes I've been on exercise and I've smuggled my phone on because we've got stuff going. And when no one's looking, I'm on my phone quickly trying to sort stuff out. And I think that I've run this from the middle of a field or from like Afghanistan, like it is capable of running an organisation on your own. It ain't necessarily that much hard work.
Well, what a headline that is. I ran an esports org while I was out in Afghanistan. I didn't think I'd get that out of this interview. That's incredible. Wow.
Yeah.
So that's a really good insight into you and your background, I think, Newt. So jumping into League of Legends, just before I jump into League of Legends, do you have teams in other games at the moment?
So we've actually got a couple, but we're not really announced them. So what we're trying to do is, and it's not. So we've got a Rainbow Six team that's entered a couple of things, but we want to sort of help them develop a bit. So I've got two other people that do Bulldog with me. I've got a bloke called Michael and a rugby player called Luke Cowan-Dickey. So they sort of do it. Luke's a bit more distant with the stuff than Michael is. And Michael's always had a passion for Rainbow Six. He used to play it himself. And he wanted to make a Rainbow Six team, but he wanted to sort of build one because it's just what he wanted to do. So he spent about a year doing it, just trying to find the right players and to build a team. And he just wants to see if you can try to build a team up to get to that level. So we've sort of announced them and announced a couple of things, but we don't try to put too much pressure on them. I think sometimes that if you pick a team up and you announce them, you do everything they're doing, if it's not going well, it can be a bit demoralising when people are looking down on them and they get a little bit of grief on Twitter sometimes. Yeah. So we've got another team that we ain't announced yet that I probably can't say because we ain't announced. That's okay. But we're doing the same with them, where we believe in some of the players. We think they're nice people and want to give them a chance, but we're just making sure that they're happy to do this because like we've had it in the past with COD teams, and I sort of learnt my lesson then that we'd announce a team and then people think they're going to be great, and then when they don't do great, people at the org saying we just stuffed your team by this and stuff like that, and they sort of lose motivation sometimes. Yeah. And part of the development, like not just for League of Legends and stuff like that, is sometimes it doesn't benefit us as an org like straight away. So we don't announce everything we're doing. Like for example, we've got a League of Legends team. So Pivotless, my League of Legends manager Evie, when we done the trials, she found a group of, there was 5 players that she believed in. And she went, look, can we pick them up? She went, they won't all necessarily play for us, but I'd like to work with them and hopefully develop them. So when the UKEL comes around next, they've got a chance to qualify as themselves, and then they can decide what org they want to be in. And I thought it was a brilliant idea because there's like 5 players now that are going to get some experience being around an organisation, so they'll know how to act when they go into the next organisation. They scrim, literally. So our team scrims, they scrim. Our team scrims, they scrim. And Evie sits in with every one of their scrims. We've actually got them entered into a small Danish league to give them some competitive experience. But again, we've put them in there under another name so they don't have the added pressure.
Is this a second League of Legends team?
Yeah, sort of. I mean, they're sort of down as ourselves, but like I said, we've not put them under us because we don't want that pressure on them for people to be sort of scrutinising them and that, because they're at a point where they're trying to develop. Yeah. So while they're still getting our time and like our manager's time and our resources, and they're in with our other players whenever we're the first team screaming, they're in there with them. It didn't feel right to. I'd rather give them a nurturing environment than try to gain a couple of likes off of them. Yeah. And stuff like that. So we're sort of, I want to say protecting them because they don't need protecting, but we're just not putting the limelight on them yet. You know what I mean? It isn't about us. It's trying to help the scene grow, you know what I mean? And that's a bit more important than just our interactions on Twitter. But we do all stuff like, we've got 2 FIFA players that, again, we don't really announce because we're trying to help them.
Right, okay.
So it sounds, but you might guess from looking at our Twitter, but like our interactions ain't everything for me. They never have been. Like I'm an old man, you know what I mean? I'm not a social media guru or anything like that. And how many followers, I couldn't even tell you how many followers we've got because I just don't care. Like to me, it makes no difference.
I think you're good for a UK org. I think you're around 7,000 or 8,000, which is, for an org. I know you've been going a little while. When did you say you set up Bulldog now? Is it
20? 7 years, mate. Coming into 8 probably.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think that's really good going for that time. I set up EN UK 5 years ago. I know it's a different business. We've got around 5k followers. I hope to grow that this year. But you're spot on there. You sound like you're someone that you like to like speak through action. Actions are louder than words.
Yeah. Yeah, anyone can say anything. Like, it's easy to sit there and say, one of my bugbears. When you get a new organisation come along and they say we're going to be the most professional organisation in UK esports, or we're an organisation that cares, or we're, I don't know, socially woke or whatever like this. I'm like, why are you telling me? Show me.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't care what you say. We can all say something. Why don't you wait until someone else says it? You know what I mean? Self-praise is no praise. It's something that one of my mates said at work. Self-praise is no praise. Wait until other people tell you that you're the most professional.
Exactly, yeah. And your brand is what people say it is.
Yeah, that's it. It's not what you decide you are.
Kind of things, you know?
Yeah, that's it. It's not what you decide and you tell us you are. Show us that you are. You know what I mean? And then fair enough, we'll say that about you if that's what you want to be. But you need to do it through actions and not just trying to shove what you want. What's the latest PR spin down everyone else's throat? You know what I mean? And this is what we are. Like.
I'm very much a show don't tell person. I like that in journalism as well. Don't say this is the best event ever. Say it had whatever, 1 million viewers or whatever, you know. So jumping into the league stuff then, Newts, you must be delighted that you made it back to the UKLC. When the Munster news happened, and Munster, for anyone watching, Munster dropped out of the UKLC due to a scandal. We've written an article on it. This opened up a space in the UKLC. You were in the UKEL. I think you dropped down last season, but you performed really well in that match, you know, and to get back in there. So what does that mean to you to have that second chance?
It felt nice for a couple of reasons. Like, we got a lot of stick last year because of our performances, and a lot of stick because people thought, I mean, I hope they didn't think, but I think people might have thought that, like, the people that didn't notice that we was run badly and we're going through all these players. Considering how long we've been going, and like, we've never had a situation like we did last split with players wanting to leave and stuff like that. I'd like to think people can realise it's not us. Like, if you look at our history, this is definitely a blip, and there was reasons for it. But I'm not one of these organisations that will hang people out to dry publicly. So I could have quite easily released some statements that would have probably cleared a lot of things up, but it would have probably had a negative effect on other people. And I'm just not that guy. It's like, I just don't care that much what other people, like what the outside world thinks. So, but you still see a lot of things. And do you know what it was really, really good for? Because we've not really had that bad press ever, like, or people sort of going against us, even in a sort of what they deem as a playful way. But it's a good time to see people's true colours. Like, people that when you're helping them are all on your side, then all of a sudden for a couple of likes or retweets, they're quick to stick the knife in. And that made me realise a lot about a lot of people. So that was good. But then with this team, we set it up with Evie with the idea of promoting from the UKL. And we wanted players that we believed were at a level where they could play in the UKLC, but for whatever reasons, they've not been selected. So then when we got this chance, we had the option. We was allowed to totally change our whole roster if we wanted. But we decided that that's not what I'm about, and thankfully that's not what Evie wanted to do neither. We were both pretty, I mean, literally asked each other, we didn't give any option, we can change our roster, should we change our roster? And we were both basically like, no, straight away. So part of the joy from doing it was we didn't take that gamble, and it paid off because we stuck with the people, we believed in the people, and it paid off for them as well. And sort of they're surprised because they weren't expecting to play in this, you know what I mean? So the surprise on some of them and how happy it made them, and almost, I won't say redemption because it's not the same team, but it was just nice after everything that had negatively happened. It was almost like there was a light at the end of the tunnel. So yeah, it was a bit of a relief. Like, it felt good.
That's good. Well, and congrats as well, because this week has gone really well. You know, you not only broke your losing streak from last season, but you went 2-0 in this first week. So how did that feel? And what are your thoughts as well for the sort of going into this for the remainder of the season?
It was quite funny because the first win, we just didn't know how to gauge it. Right, so on the Friday before we had the playoff game, we had the worst scrim we've ever had. Like, literally people having to leave and come back and talk. Now, generally, my team gets on really well. Like, they're up until like 10 o'clock in the chat, even after games and that, all having a laugh and a joke with each other. They always get on well. But we just had one day, actually that's a lot. We had two scrims that went pretty bad. And the third one, it was a communication issue. It was basically a couple of players were talking over other players and they were getting frustrated. And they had it out at the end of the scrim. The scrim went really, really bad. Like, you couldn't have got a worse scrim. And Evie was amazing. She let them talk for a little bit, then she came in really calming, got everyone back down to a level, you know what I mean? And they all respect him massively, so they all listen, no one interrupted. And then we had a little just, let's get it all out there, speak from the heart about what we feel, trying to help each other. My job, I'm actually a comms instructor in the army, like, so it's part of what it is. So I was like, look, this is how I would suggest to sort of do it, just giving them a bit of experience from this and why it's important and what happens, for example, on a net if there's a contact somewhere and everyone else goes quiet and just listen to the person that's involved. So maybe when we go into team fights, everyone else needs to go quiet and just listen to the person involved, like the person doing the calling. And try to explain it like that, which is sort of the only way I can do it. So I sort of lean back to the army with a lot with my analogies when I'm dealing with them. We spent all night talking and we didn't have another game until our qualifiers. And then they put it into practice and we've done well in our qualifiers. But we still don't know where we really stand against other teams because we was built for the UKL, not the UKLC. These people had a bigger pool of people to pick from, you know what I mean? So then when we went into the first game and we won, like, I went back in afterwards and I think I told them all I loved them about 4 or 5 times, like, because it just was really unexpected. I wasn't expecting it. And that's nothing against them. We just, like I said, we just didn't have nothing to go off. You know what I mean? And then I said to them that day, they went, because they said they were going to win the next day, they went, we're going to win tomorrow as well. I said, look, don't be doing this to me. You win, like, I'm so old, I can't be up, I can't handle it. Like, I'll end up dying. And then when we went in, I went into the call afterwards. The first thing one of them said was, "What music do you want to play at your funeral, then, mate?" But that's how we are. Like, it's a proper laugh. Like tonight, we've not had a great week scrimming because of the client and stuff like that. And even tonight, the TR realm, some of them are getting booted off.
There's been some DDoS attacks clashed last weekend. Had some problems. Riot revealed the other day it was DDoS attacks. So who knows what's going on with EU West and servers and things.
There's been issues all week as well, mate. Like they've been going down and stuff like that. And we had it tonight. We was in one tournament realm and it went off, so we had to go to another one. So there was quite a bit of waiting about. And then we went into a game and we had to pause for a bit. And it was like 20 seconds in, and they're sitting there. And it took like 65 minutes to get to this point where we were just in the game. And they were still laughing and joking. Like one of them was like talking to the other one. He went, "Look at your CS. We've been playing this." Was like as if they've been playing for an hour. You know what I mean? And just like even after that, I've had teams that would be talking about leaving and like, "I'm not playing this tonight." You know what I mean? I'm tilted. But they were still having a laugh and a joke about it. So I hope that stands us well for the rest of the season. Like we're not going to win every game. I know that. You know what I mean? It's just it'd be silly for us to say that. I just hope that. All I asked the players when we got qualified as well, I said mine and Evie's objective this split was to qualify for the UKLC. I said, so we've done it. I was like, so as far as I'm concerned, we've done our job. We helped make a team that got us there. I was like, this is now all down on yous. I said, what do yous want to get out of this opportunity you didn't think you were going to get? Yous need to put the time and the work in now because this is what people will know you for. You've got yourself on a bigger platform. So the rest of this is down to you. They've chose not to have a coach at the minute. So we don't have a coach. They're sort of self-coaching with help from me and Evie.
So there's like no pressure in a way. And I think, it could be dark horses this split because when you're playing without pressure, you play to enjoy and you actually make better. You have a bit more confidence. I watched that XL Esports documentary on BBC, and you touched on a really good point here, Newts, and that's about communication. So when I watched that documentary, you've got Fabian Broich, head of performance there. When I spoke to Jamal Ford Robinson the other day, the God-sent coach, who's also a pro rugby player as his actual career, he said to me, "Dom, communication is an area I'm really passionate about, communication, well-being, mentality." For me, I think that's such an important area in esports, and it seems to be under-addressed a little bit at this point because communication is key. And I saw on that XL documentary, there was a point where Cadrell wanted to say something about his players, and he said, "I want to say something, but I can't say it because it'll end up annoying people." And then it got even a bit more insular, and you could see that they weren't on the level. If you have that open communication, I guess sometimes people can take things the wrong way. I'm very much honesty is the best policy. So, it's just interesting you touched on that. And I think esports in the future will see a greater focus.
I think it's like you could have the best people in the world, but if they're not communicating, it doesn't work. We had a football manager that if we weren't making calls when we were playing football, it'd make us play without talking for 5 minutes in practice. and then trying to get the ball off each other just with no communications. And you realise how difficult it is to be able to tell each other what you're doing if you're not talking clearly and properly to each other. And then when he said, right, you can talk again, everyone will be talking, you know what I mean? All the because you've missed doing it. And I always remember that. And I try to get that across to people. I can't coach people in League of Legends because I'm rubbish. You know what I mean? There's no two ways about it. But building the team and things like the communications, the importance of communications, and little ways of dealing with that, I feel I can, because that has been my job for 15 years, you know what I mean? And I am a qualified instructor, and I can do the training. So it is something that we do sort of have, and hopefully it works. And like I said, it weren't just me, like it's Evie, it's the players. A thing that I found is, so our reason for not having a coach, obviously we was late to it, and there probably weren't that many good coaches left, and we get on so well. The risk of bringing someone in from the outside in almost a position of authority to some extent could mess up what we've got going on. And I was a bit sceptical about it, but them almost self-learning their mistakes, because they still go over stuff, they still fodder with you. But instead of us having to tell them, they want to do it. So they're almost going to each other, right, let's do a VOD review tomorrow. And they're all in there, they're all talking about what they're doing. And
yeah, see, that's good. Some teams won't do that, but it sounds like you've got a group of players that are good at self-organising.
Yeah.
You know,
go on. And I was going to say, and I think I'd be silly to mess that up. And what I found is, because they're working the answers themselves, so it might take a little bit longer to get to the solution, but they're quicker at picking the solution up because it's their solution. It's not someone telling them, you done this wrong, and then them initially doing what everyone does. I went wrong. It wasn't me. They're like, right, this is a problem. What was the problem? And they're working it out themselves. And when they come to the answer, whatever the answer is, be it right or wrong, they all accept it. And then they try to fix it because it's their answer. They've got the ownership of it.
Yeah.
And hopefully it works. I mean, it could totally backfire. But at the minute, it seems to be doing okay. And Shicklin's been doing really great with the drafting. So I think we're going to try this. Probably the first team to go, especially after last season, who thought someone would go 0-14, and then the next bit they'll be like, right, let's not have a coach. Woo!
But if it's working, and listen, look, you're like me. We're both Arsenal fans. I remember that game where we were still under the management of Arsene Wenger, and we beat City, I think 2-0 at their ground or something. And I think Wenger said, or one of the players said, you know, Wenger asked us to do this, but we actually did this. And it worked, and you know, so it does show you that kind of thing can work.
You've got to trust your players. Like you have to. There's times in leadership and management. There's times when you get involved and you say, "Look, this is clearly the wrong thing. We need to stop this here. Like if there's arguing and stuff like that, you need to come in and you need to almost separate people sometimes." I said, not with this team, but sometimes you have to do it. And sometimes you have to be more of a almost sergeant major figure to the team, just to get them all in line. But then there's nothing better than when you can just sit back and let them do it. You know what I mean? Just give ideas, like Evie does. She'll chuck in the little gems here and there, and then she lets them develop it. And a lot of it they're doing themselves as well. Like they're just sitting back, listening to what they're saying. They're saying all the right things. They're all self-motivated, so they're always early. Like we're never waiting around for people. Which is like I don't think I've ever had a team where everyone's always on time or early. Minimums they're on time, and like I said, they're just willing to put the time in themselves. And they asked us; it was their idea. They said, "Look, we'd rather not have a coach if we can't get us a really good coach that we can all believe in." So we just respected it, and like I said, I really hope it works because the problem we have as well, a lot of people talk about the UK league scene and how there isn't development for players, but we don't have a massive pool of good managers or coaches as well. There's some really good ones. But then it drops off, you know what I mean? And if you don't get in early enough, it's quite hard to get a coach that might actually be better than some of your better, more experienced players anyway. And they can just bring it down. So hopefully this works, mate.
Yeah, fingers crossed. And you said, like, you know, you're not going to say you're going to beat everyone. Your team faces MNM and NVision next week. How do you expect those games to go?
MNM's one of the UK Orgs I've got most respect for. I've spoke to that Count quite a few times. He knows how I feel about him. I think he's a great owner and everything like that. So I'd love to beat him, but they're a really good side. You know what I mean? Like, there's a reason why they've been around for so long. Won as many things as they have. They understand esports. So it's going to be a difficult game. If I had my players on it, they'd all 100% tell you they think they're going to win.
Yeah.
Like, I know that 100%. But like, I don't know. Like, it's one of those. It's League of Legends as well, isn't it? Literally anything can
anything can happen. That's the thing. You can be in the best form in the world and have an off game. It's just like any other sport, and that's what I love about League of Legends. No, and other good games like that. No two games are the same, right?
No. Yeah, totally, mate. And like I said, anything can happen. The lads over NVision, I spoke to them before as well. I think they're another great org. They've been really good since they've come in. You never hear bad stuff about them and things like that. They've got a good team as well. I think this week's difficult. But honestly, like, if you was to hear the lads, like, some of them are convinced no one can beat us, to be honest. But I think that's just a bit of bravado, you know what I mean? Like, because, like I said, it's quite light and jovial in our chats.
Yeah.
But it'd be interesting to watch. It's nice for me to go into it not thinking, oh my God, we've got to win.
Yeah.
I was really happy for the players as well. So us winning that first game, they didn't have to live by our failures last split. Because what I was worried about was them coming in. If we lost the first game, people saying, "Oh, Bulldog are 0-15," when it isn't fair, because it isn't these players.
Yeah,
they're a brand new team, and I didn't want that burden to be then put onto them. Because some of them, we've got some experienced players, but we've got some less experienced players, and I just didn't want that. So that was another relief for me when we won. I thought, like, it's not going to happen. So some of my worst fears have been sort of moved out of it. They've been dispersed, like they're not there no more. So I mean, I'm happy. As long as we win enough games that we ain't in another relegation, then I'm happy. Like,
yeah. Well, good luck to you. And of course, like you say, Bulldog's been around in the UK League of Legends scene for a little while now, and you've seen a lot of ups and downs in that time. For me, things have improved a lot in general. I think the professionalism at teams, players, coaches, everything has improved. There's of course always room for improvement, but I love all the different tiers we have now, university level, UKEL, NLC, all of that stuff. It's a really nice rounded like ecosystem we've got now. But how would you assess the current state of UK League of Legends?
I think we're in probably a stronger place now, like you're saying, infrastructure wise, than we've ever been since I've been involved. I think the UKEL is brilliant. Like, it sounds really bad, but when we got relegated, I really didn't care, because I was going down there and I like the guys that are running it, and I think they do a great job. And I'm still playing UK League, you know what I mean? And like, I can't praise them enough for what they've done. I think it's really, it was needed. And like I said, you've got the university leagues and stuff like that. I'd wish there wasn't. So sometimes you have issues. You can't necessarily use university players because they can't play on certain days.
Yeah.
Which I wish wasn't the case. I was trying to help someone the other day fill in. They wanted a couple of subs because they had an issue with the team. And they come to me and I was asking if we knew anyone. And I spoke to Evie. And she suggested a couple of university players. But the problem was, because of schedules and that, they couldn't, it wouldn't have worked out. So I wish there was something where that wasn't an issue and we could get more university players playing in the UKL. Because I think that would be good. But then they need time to practice for their university teams as well, I guess. So it might never work. But yeah, I think infrastructure-wise, we're in a great place. We've just got to make the most of it. Like, I think, like that said, what we're doing with this other team that we've not really announced or anything, I think was a brilliant idea. Like, it's Evie's idea. And I think it's a brilliant idea. And I'd like to do this every split now if I could, as long as the manager that I had at the time was happy to almost have a ghost team that, like I said, we're not there to publicise them or nothing like that. We're just there to take a group of players on and hopefully give them that little bit of experience. You know what I mean? Try to find a lower level league and even put them in there under another name. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
there's
just
nothing,
give them some...
unless I'm mistaken here, there's nothing to stop a UK org fielding teams in other countries, is there? Like,
no. So, like I said, it's not that we're trying to do something dodgy that we're not saying. No. It's just, I don't want to put that pressure on them. Like, they don't need that. Like, they don't need their results being plastered all over our Twitter for people to see their names and to see how they're doing. If they want to tell people, that's fine. You know what I mean? But they don't need us doing it to the whole of the league community, broadcasting that they might not have been doing well, because everyone needs that time to develop, don't they? I mean, when I started my job, I was useless. Like, I'm not much better now, but at least I'm a little bit better 15 years later. But you need, like I do. So we grew up in a time where we could make mistakes and it weren't plastered everywhere.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah. The council culture nowadays is
Yeah,
more prevalent.
and 100%. Like, and people are so quick to jump on people. So, like, like I said, I like to protect some of our teams. If they're in a development stage and they're open enough to say that to us and they're cool, like I said, it ain't for me. It ain't about the interactions. Like that to me is more what I'm about than the other side. But you know what I mean? I like developing people. I'm at the training establishment for a reason. I enjoy helping players develop and the coaching side and working with people. Although I don't work with all of our teams, I still can appreciate that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I just think it's good. I think what we could do though is, I still think this is going to probably be, I don't know, people probably disagree with it, but I still think our sort of community is a little bit too toxic to get outside people in. This is why I try to protect the players, because it's very, I mean, I'm so glad that the games are on BBC, because I'd never get my friends and family to watch Twitch.
Do you know what? I was just going to ask that. I was going to say it's not on my list of questions, but of course, with you being in the UKLC now, how does it feel to know the games are on BBC, albeit iPlayer and wherever else it is online, but it's still
BBC Sport.
Positive.
Yeah, no, it's brilliant. Like it's my friends and my family. When I say my team, because they all know I sort of do this, but to them it's just stupid gaming. Like when I can say, look, something that I've created a few years ago is now being shown on BBC Sport, they're like, whoa, wait a minute. And they're happy to watch, but I'd never get them to watch on Twitch because of the rubbish just chatted in the chat, like some of the things that are said and stuff like that. And
I hide the chat sometimes, I'll be honest. Sometimes I like to muck about in the chat, but a lot of the time if I'm watching a game and trying to enjoy it, the chat can be a bit of a distraction, so I just push it to the right sometimes.
I just, like, the whole of last week, trust me, I didn't have the chat. But, like, it's just, and I think we want the scene to grow because we need it to grow. And for that, we need people from the outside to come in. And I think we almost need to stop. I mean, it's good that people see it as our scene, right? But I think it's almost like when I was growing up, there was garage and grime and that come along. And then the artists that sort of went more commercial out of that and got bigger, they almost got seen as a sellout because they were leaving the scene and they were going commercial, but they're the ones that made all the money from it.
Like Wiley and all that.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And they're the ones that pushed the boundaries and got it out there. And I think if we need to go out there, we almost stop needing to see it as our scene with all the in jokes, which are a good thing, but sometimes they're a bit much. And if we want people from the outside to come in and take this on, how would they feel the first time they log into Twitch and they just see all that rubbish on the side? They're going to be like, what's going on here? League's hard enough to understand anyway, without like some of the comments that are made by people towards other people and that in there.
Do you know what, Newts? That's a really good point. You've reminded me. So on a side note, I've been commissioned by Barclays just to do like a freelance article on esports entering the mainstream. Is it fully mainstream now? But you've touched on a good point there. Especially, it'd be good if you're happy for some of your quotes here to be included in that article. So from this semi-pro and the local level, maybe use some in those quotes you were saying. But also, it's like what you're saying is, I guess we need to embrace the mainstream a bit more to reach that next level.
If we want it to grow, plus then more people to see it, we're going to get more players involved. We need, like I said, it's good that people see it as ours, and I understand why. And there's always going to be those people that think because we were sort of towards the start of it and that we should have an influence on the way that it goes and stuff like that. And there is an element of that, but at some point you have to let go of your child to move out into the wider world. You know what I mean? You develop it into a young adult, and then it's time to let it go and other people to help make it grow and to influence the way that the life of it's going to be. And I think for us to do that, we almost need to stop some of this for people to feel it's okay to come into, and to maybe pick it up a little bit quicker. And then, like I said, it's probably going to be an unpopular opinion, because I know like everyone likes that side and it's part of the history, but from someone that weren't necessarily elite from the start, when I come in, and like I said, some of my friends, I'm doing an esports thing with the army, so we're having a purpose-built esports room and that done. So we're spending quite a lot of money, and we're turning our old library that doesn't get used for a while, because they moved it. It's not because we don't think reading's good, but they moved the library, so there was an empty building. So we're putting it in there. We're going to have 10 PCs, 10 PS5s, like it's all state of the art, all like the proper good stuff and that. And we're going to do our esports team from there. So some of them are following me on Twitter and they're watching it, and I go and work the next day and they're like, "What's that idiot saying?" You know what I mean? Like, what's he on about this and that? And they just don't get it. And I think a lot of people that are coming in from the outside might be the same with that. They've not bothered watching it after. So I just get people to watch it through BBC Sport where there isn't the chat.
Yeah.
And they, like my family, and they have a much better experience of it. And they will watch it again because of that. So I think that's something we need to do. And almost, I think sometimes the Twitter behaviour goes a bit far. Like, I think memes are okay, but there's always a line where, like, sometimes it gets too carried away and you see too many people picking on one person and almost see it. And then it's like, is this well-meant fun? Or is some of this getting towards a bit of bullying that some other people would see it? Like, how does that person on the other end see this? And like I said, maybe I'm just getting too sensitive in my old age, but I think we all talk a lot about, I think what it is as well, I've done a lot of mental health training and work because that's something the Army's really big on. And I sort of, since I've done a lot of that, it's made me a lot more aware of it isn't necessarily how you mean something when you say it, it's how the other person takes it that's important. And I don't think we think about that a lot on social media when we're doing stuff.
Yeah.
And sometimes you see people getting hammered for different reasons. Even what happened with Munster/Phelan, like what happened was wrong. There's no denying that. But like that person also got a lot of stick directly.
Yeah, and I don't warrant personal attacks. I don't like to see that happen. You can criticise someone, and then, you know, I'm all about giving people second chances as well. And where do you draw the line with that?
Yeah.
You know, there's been some incidents in esports where people don't deserve second chance, like the harassment stuff and all that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I see what you're saying there. I don't think personal attack, people going over the top, doesn't help anyone really.
No, it doesn't help the person. It doesn't help like people looking in from the outside. Everything's on social. You never know who's looking. There could be a potential company that might want to work with you. They come and they look at your socials, look at people involved, and they see some of the comments and they're like, what? I ain't. Because they won't know the context as well.
Yeah.
And this is what I always say to people.
Don't understand the jokes or whatever, the memes, the Twitch emotes.
This is what I'm always saying to the players and that. Like, you got to remember, anyone can see this. And sometimes these are people that could want you for another team or a bigger team. And if they don't understand the context and what you're saying, that's a single throwaway statement. And they can read that any way that they read it. And that if they don't know you, is their opinion of that is now going to form their opinion of you.
Yeah.
And you need to be really careful. It's something I was really bad at in the past, but like I said, through the different courses and training I've done, I've tried to be more aware of this and the effect in general, the effect that my words can have on people. I'm not perfect and I still mess up and I still sometimes lose it because we're human, you know what I mean? And I respect that from other people, but I just think, I don't know, I think we need to think about it a little bit more if we want to go in that mainstream way because, I mean, could you imagine if, like, so you're doing this article now, say people start looking into UK League of Legends or whatever because of this, and they start, right, they put in Twitter, UK League of Legends chats, and they see some of the things that are said, what a reporter from the outside that maybe doesn't want to report on us so nicely could take away from it.
Yeah, and then they produce a negatively spun piece of content or something, you know?
Yeah, because of the stuff that's going on, which could be an inside joke to other people, but from the outside world, when we're going to be put under a microscope, doesn't always shine us in the best light.
Yeah, absolutely. Newts, it's been a really good chat so far. Just tying things up towards the end, I wanted to ask this because you've been doing Bulldog for a while now. What's been your sort of proudest moment or standout memory in esports so far?
So this is a bit weird. So my proudest moment, sporting-wise, was when we won our Call of Duty event at Insomnia. So I'd had a team for, I'd had a player called Pato for a couple of years. And when I picked him up, people were like, look, he just likes to go to events and get drunk and he's not going to take it seriously. And I thought that was brilliant. So we picked him up and we got on really well. We got very drunk at quite a few events. But he'd been involved at a pretty decent level for a long while and he'd never won an event. And the team had been together for a while. And we went through a lot together. And then when we finally won an event, that was amazing. Like, I remember coming outside, his missus at the time, Stace, like she was in tears. Like, I think he was getting choked up. I was getting a little bit choked up. Like, so that meant a lot. But the other moments that stand out are not things like that. So our first event, I think it was XL's first event as well, actually. It was an AM to Pro. And we took a team where they were 15 and 16 because you could at the time in Call of Duty. Their parents come along as well. It was something I stipulated, like your parents will be here. Like, I'm not inviting a load of 15 and 16-year-olds to a gaming event for a weekend. They'll end up on a list or something. And so they come along and when I had to go back because it was my wife's birthday, I think, so I didn't get to finish the Sunday. And on the way back, I got a phone call. So obviously, I put it on hands-free, and they were talking to me. And they just beat a team they didn't think they was going to beat. And I think we finished like top 16. And it was like a 100-team event, you know what I mean? So it was pretty decent. And the excitement in the young boys' voices of like really telling me, I got choked up, mate. I'm not lying to you. Like, big 6'3" burly soldier, like I'm driving along, getting all choked up because I can hear how happy they were and hear how happy they were telling me. And that sort of got my bug for esports. And then another thing that stands out that I was really happy about is there was a kid that reached out to me. He was still at school, and I'd done some videos a while back about running an org, and I got loads of people talk to me, and he messaged me, and I thought it was about that, and we were chatting, and it turned out he was getting bullied at school, but he didn't know how to tell his parents. So he just, like, this kid I didn't know, and he probably thought I was someone that he'd seen, so he felt he knew me from what we were doing.
Yeah,
and
he felt he could trust you a bit.
Yeah, and he told me as an older person, and he's like, what do I do? And I was like, look, if I'm being honest, like, if you was my son, I'd tell you to pick a bat up and go in school, but don't do that. You really need to talk to your parents about it. And he's like, I don't know how to address it. And I was like, look, they will be fine. Like, I don't know your parents, but I know they love you, and talk to me through. And then the following day, I got a message from his mum, like saying thank you for how I dealt with it, and that meant a lot to me. And then the other one was same player, Pato. Before we won the event, I realised that he'd been in esports for a long while and I thought he was going to end it and never really get anything from it. So we got him a gold framed Bulldog jersey. It's the only one we've ever had made.
Oh, wow.
And we presented him with that. But at the same time, his missus as well to say that. We got her and her mum like a spa weekend to say thank you for what she had done. We didn't want to leave her at, and seeing the reaction on her face at the time. Like, those are the memories that I've sort of got. And it almost encapsulates what I'm about. Like, this is what I mean. The winning don't really matter. It's the effect you can have on people throughout it, and just make everyone's life that little bit better. And that sounds really corny.
No, but it's a very human thing, and that's what I like about esports as well. It's not, I loved video games before esports grew in popularity, but having these storylines and everything, it's a different. There's a different aspect to gaming that esports brings, and that's what I like as well.
That's how I genuinely am about the community. Like, I spend so much of my time, probably, well, it is definitely more than my wife wish I did, like just talking to other people that run other orgs and stuff like that. And I'm pretty well known for not saying the stuff that goes on between us, like, and so people come to me with a lot of problems and stuff like that, and I'm forever lending money out, but I get it back. But just people, and I like the fact that people feel they can trust me enough to come to me, and I think sometimes as well we forget that. Like, I'm lucky. I live a nice life. I mean, I hope you do, and I hope a lot of people do. But there's some people that necessarily don't, and they might not have a lot of other people in the world that they feel they can turn to, or friends or people they can lie to, or they're not having a good time at home. You know what I mean? Some of the younger people, perhaps, and this is almost their escape. And this is why I think we just need to treat each other a little bit better. I mean, I've done that thing that you put in your paper a little while ago when I come out and said I thought someone was getting treated a little bit badly, and it was just a genuine mistake they made. And we need to just be nice to each other. And I think that's true. Like, we're all in this together. We've all got a common interest. Like, we're not all the same people, and that's fine. You know what I mean? But we've all got a common interest. We just need to appreciate that and try to get along better with each other.
Yeah,
and,
definitely.
Like, you can definitely tell I'm getting old, but I genuinely believe that. And it's quite strange because a lot of people that don't know me, especially if they knew what I was like when I very first got into esports, probably don't see that in me, because I was definitely a lot more rough around the edges then. But I think with my boy being born, and just like I said, all the courses, the growing up I've done, I think for us to move on, and for other people to come in and for esports to get where I think we all want it to get, we just need to be a little bit better than what we are now. And hopefully that helps. Like, people, when they do look into it, want to be part of us. We need to make something that people want to be a part of.
Yeah, like, a bit more compassion, I think you're saying. And the problem is as well, is you have people in esports, but then you also have the gaming community as well, and that's hard to stop, right? Harassment online, toxicity. There's people that are outside of esports, but it's intertwined, isn't it, with esports? Twitch culture and all that stuff. It's hard to change.
It's not just the management and the players and the orgs and stuff like that. But we almost done it. So I have hope, because it almost happened in the Call of Duty. So at the start, I remember being at an event in the Norbreck Hotel in Blackpool, and we were sitting on the table, There's about 15 of us. And on the table behind me, there was, I'm not going to say who they are, but there was 4 guys and a girl. And the things that they were saying to the girl, like, I weren't happy with. So I kept hearing it, and I thought I'll keep my nose out. And in the end, I stood up and I was like, look, like, that's someone's sister and daughter. Like, you're not talking to her like that. And I could tell she weren't happy, but she didn't really want to say anything.
Yeah.
And there used to be people like that at the events, but because of people standing up to them and saying, look, this isn't right, they got less and less. And it sort of changed. It went from loads of different groups to you go and everyone would generally get on. I mean, you still have the arguments on Twitter, but when it got to the event, there was like the wrong ones left because people let them know that they weren't welcome there no more.
Yeah.
And that's what I almost hope. Like, you're always going to have bad elements in any part of society. It's just how it works. But if we let those people know that it's not acceptable, if we don't sort of play into their hands of liking their tweets when they are bullying people and stuff like that, or borderline attacking people, then they might stop doing it because they're not getting what they want. They just want the attention a lot of the time. If we don't give them that attention, hopefully they just get bored and go and do something else. Like, because, I mean, how sad your life got to be if you're turning on to watch UK League of Legends because, one, you think it's terrible anyway, right? And then all you're going to do is sit there and abuse people in the chat the whole way through.
Yeah, it's a shame, isn't it?
How sad must your life be that you've got nothing better to do? Like, you can't go and talk to your family, you've got no girlfriend, like nothing else. Your life, the pinnacle of your life is spending 3 hours sitting in the Twitch chat, just giving people abuse and watching a game that you think is rubbish anyway because it's UK League and they're all terrible. Like, it doesn't make sense. And
I say that to people who've criticised my site in the past. Look, if you don't like it, no one's forcing you to read.
Yeah.
You know, and it's the same with Twitch. If you don't like someone's Twitch chat, you don't have to go on there. You know, everyone has their opinions.
Like I said, it is probably because of my age, mate. As you pointed out, I'm an old man. Like, I genuinely don't understand it. Like, if I don't like something, I don't do it. Like, I've never watched a Tottenham game unless they're playing us. Like, and I love football, but I'd never sit down and watch a Tottenham game.
No,
so
I'm the same. I'm the same with that as well.
Yeah, so I just don't watch it. So why do people watch when they think it's such low level that they're going to abuse the players all game? Like, go and do something else for your life. Improve yourself. Watch something you enjoy, you know what I mean? Don't just sit there and bring everyone else down.
I'm glad we spoke about this. I didn't think it'd take this turn, but it's like I said before the interview, I like to go on tangents and just let the conversation flow. And that's good. We've touched on toxicity and things that need to change. So I'll try and put that in my article because I think you made some good comments and I want to represent all elements of esports, you know, top tier, mid tier, everything.
Old men.
Yeah, I'm old as well. I'm old. Just lastly, then wrapping up Newts. Did you want to mention anything else? You know, maybe Bulldog's plan for the future. Any closing thoughts?
Do you know what? Right, I did used to always do every year. I try to tell everyone what our plans were, and COVID. We done a rebrand. We had some great ideas, and COVID just kicked us in the nuts, mate. So I've sort of, at the minute, I don't know what our plans are for the future. Hopefully, we're not all stuck indoors in a year's time.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
But we might be, like, you know what I mean? So it's really hard to plan for the future. I hope the teams we're working with, I hope that they get to where we hope they do. That'd be my biggest thing. Like, I'm not one of those people say, I hope we got sponsors and that. If someone wants to, they do. They don't, they don't. I don't have enough time to spend chasing that. And the way we run, that money isn't, I mean, it'd help, but it's not massively important to us because we can still what we do. And I'm almost worried that if we got money from the outside coming, it'd have to change my focus because I wouldn't be able to necessarily give these people a chance because people would want to see like us do well because of the money they're putting in. And it might almost make me not enjoy it anymore because that's not sort of what I'm trying to do. So I'm happy with us going along the way we are. I think Mike and Luke will be like, no, Newts, we want to push like the other guys I do it with. But just from a personal aspect, I like being able to do what we do. So I think Balder's going to be saying one thing I would like to thank is, I've mentioned her a couple of times, is Evie. She's been like a godsend. Honestly, she'd not managed a team before, I don't think, but she's been brilliant and she's made my life so much easier over the thing. And I sort of said to her, I'd mention her during this, and she was like, oh, you don't have to. But like, honestly, massive shout out to her and to my team. I hope the split carries on, like we do okay, and we carry on now having the laugh at the end of it that we're having now, if that makes sense. And that would be the best thing for me. I don't care what the results are. If we're all still friends like we are now at the end of the split, then that would have been a success to me. And anything else that happens after that, mate, is just a bonus, isn't it?
Well, good luck. It's been good watching so far. I've enjoyed week one. I'm enjoying LEC this weekend as well. Whenever this video goes out, week one might be over. But I'll try and get this video out before the the next UKLC matches, because it makes sense and everything. But Newts, it's been a pleasure talking to you. I hope to do more of these interviews. Thank you for your time. Thanks everyone for watching. If you have other recommendations for people for me to interview in the future, I'd like to do these maybe fortnightly or something like that. I'm going to have a bit more time to do these now, so feedback is always welcome. And thanks for your time, Newts. Good luck with everything in the future.
Cheers, mate. Thanks for having me on.
Anytime.